have our first development in the water. NJIT also has been doing a lot of work in self-healing materials, so taking the polymers and the new material that we have in our material sciences departments and putting them into things like concrete, things like steel, reinforcing our soil.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stock view.
There are two sides to every story. From the epic tales of love and loss comes the huge new steady rolling single. When the Judgment Comes, the Elise Rich remix. Download When the Judgment Comes, the Elise Rich remix, or stream wherever good music lives.
Coming soon, Ricochet, the new action film written by, directed and starring Euro Millions winner Timothy Barker, with music by Timothy Barker.
Tonight's Euro Millions jackpot is a massive £14 million. That's dream come true money. Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Play online or on the app. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
The pressure washer that means your patio is barbecue ready. The 4K projector that brings the thrill of the cinema to you. The yoga mat that turns your lounge into a studio. With a choice of ways to pay, you can make the most of your leisure time. You can say yes when it matters most at very.co.uk. Goods and services provided by Shop Direct Home Shopping Limited. Credit provided by Shop Direct Finance Company Limited.
Typical Danny. Imagine trying to unwind at a spa weekend and you wind up getting your mud pack all over your fave personalised dressing gown. But no worries, just one wash and my clothes will smell perf with Surf. Surf gives you long-lasting fragrance with natural essential oils. Find your fragrance in Surf's laundry range.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Hi, good morning. I'm Karen Moscow along with Tom Keene and Paul Sweeney. The S&P 500 lower at the open, down 1.7%, down 47 points at 2775. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 2.1%, down 503 points at 23,138. And the Nasdaq's down 1.2%, or 103 points to 84.57. 10-year Treasury up 17/30 seconds, yield 0.55%. The yield on the 2-year 0.18%. Checking NYMEX crude oil. Taking a look at the May contract, it has turned positive. It's at $1.75 a barrel. And taking a look at the June contract, it's at $14.83 a barrel. COMEX gold is down 1.8% on $30.10 at $16.81 an ounce. And Paul and Tom.
Karen, thanks so much. This is fascinating, folks. An exchange-traded fund is a portfolio of something. And Paul, for you to bring in our esteemed expert on this, is the broad idea of financials, which are intangible, and they're ETFs made up of tangible assets.
Tangible assets like barrels of WTI crude oil. Eric Balchunas, he's a senior ETF analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence and truly one of the most knowledgeable people on Wall Street on this whole ETF complex. So, Eric, talk to us about this USO ETF. What is the news today and how important is it?
Right. So USO it trades like equity, but it holds oil futures. So what's going on now is something that's happened twice in its past, in 2009 and 2015. When oil goes real low to the point where it makes like the CBS nightly news, what happens is a lot of tourists, we call them, come, like my dad, right? He'll text me, how can I play the oil rebound?
Oh, man, blaming his
and
dad.
You'll see a lot of these people come from the outside looking to play this huge rebound. They're like, oh, it can't go lower, I'll come in. So a lot of the money that you've seen come in, it's gone from about a normal $2 billion in assets. That's what it lives at normally. When locals use this very well. They trade it. They know what they're doing. They know what contango means. But again, every now and then oil gets so low it gets to be a popular, crowded trade. And now you've got it up to $4.1 billion, and it got too big. Now it's got to halt creations, probably, I'm guessing, for a couple days. But long story short, it's become like an overcrowded trade, and because nobody who's retail knows how to use the futures market, and nobody wants to buy actual barrels of oil, USO becomes like a hot property.
Okay, what's the history of that $2 billion add-on, which is mostly individual investors climbing on board? What's your experience of how big their losses will be?
Well, here's what's going to happen probably, right? Let's just assume that at some point oil rebounds, right? In 2016, USO's down today, so they could lose a lot more, but let's just assume at some point the bottom is in. In 2016, crude was up 45%, and this is the same situation, but USO only got 6% of that because the roll costs are so brutal in this thing. So this is the problem, and this is why...
Hold on. This, folks, what you just heard there, Paul, this is like a public service from the genius Balchunas. Slow down, Eric, and explain to us again how a 45% gain, I get it, turns into a 6% gain.
Right, so the price of a barrel of oil goes up 45%, but you're in the futures market. You're holding the oil, right? So the ETF holds the near-month contract, and everybody knows that nobody wants oil delivered to their house. So the contract decays as it gets closer to expiration. So the ETF has to roll from this month to the next one to keep exposure, and you almost always pay more. And if you do that over and over and over, you end up with a 30% roll cost a year.
So, Eric, who typically uses USO? Are this people looking to hedge physical positions, or is it just speculators? Who typically trades in these ETFs?
So I find it's probably a lot of day traders. There's not a ton of institutional ownership of the fund. So it's probably day traders, maybe small hedge funds, people who just don't want to mess with futures. They like the equity quality of USO. And they're locals, and you can tell by the way it turns over, they know how to trade it. They use it as a hot potato. They do mean reversion. It's fine. It's a nice little community of people who use it. It's just when it gets to the point where oil becomes like major news that you get these outsiders, and I wonder how many are going to find out the hard way that this is the case. I tend to tell people to maybe look at the equity market, like look at XOP or XLE, and those companies tend to move with oil to a degree, and you don't get the weird derivative action over there. But then again, you don't get the pop you get when oil goes up over there.
Eric Balchunas, thank you so much for that. We appreciate you coming on and giving us some enlightenment on USO. Bloomberg Intelligence Senior ETF Analyst Eric Balchunas. I'm looking at USO right now, Tom. It has traded. It is trading right now about $3.02 per unit. That's down about 19% today. So just extraordinary movement there.
I got ducky bumps because this is what we want, folks. We go from an ETF expert to one Barry Ritholtz, who's the financial planning expert. Barry, futures are just tough, aren't they, for people? I mean, retail and futures is a toxic combination, isn't it?
For sure. It reminds us of two perennial pieces of advice that everybody has to remember. The first is know what you're investing in. Don't just think you're buying an ETF. You have to understand what you're holding, whether it's oil futures or VIX futures. Remember the notes last year that blew up. And I'm reminded of David Letterman when he used to do his stupid human tricks. We're professionals. Don't try this at home. That certainly is true about futures.
So, Barry, what do you typically, when you have a client come to you and say, you know, I really want to get long oil here, I really like where it is right here, where do you usually point them to?
A person like that, we usually say, you're fired. We can't help you. Go find someone else who will incinerate your cash for you, because we want nothing to do with that. Sometimes the best thing you could do for a person is not get in their way and not be part of their own self-destruction. Look, professionals blow up on a regular basis. Trading oil and trading futures, incredibly difficult. So many different moving parts. Geopolitics, interest rates, value of the dollar. This is not something you dabble with. You want to dabble? Take $1,000 and go play blackjack in Vegas, and when the $1,000 is gone, it's gone. But don't mess with your real money with this sort of stuff. It is not for the home viewer.
Yeah, Barry, let's review this again, what Eric said, and you can do it with a different view than Eric, which is great. I'm going to buy oil at X dollars a barrel. It's going to go up 45%, but if the futures roll, I'm only going to be up 6%. How can that be?
Well, because when you buy futures, you are not buying a commodity. You are buying a financially engineered product that has an interest in a commodity. And that is an enormous difference, and people forget that. So you want to own some oil, and if you want to really get a feel of that, Tracy Alloway wrote a delightful piece a few years ago about buying a single barrel of oil and taking delivery for it. It's absolutely recommended reading. But anytime you're in the futures market, you are playing with engineered products, and they have very quirky characteristics, including time decay.
This is what surveillance is all about, folks. Eric Balchunas and Barry Ritholtz together on this oil conundrum. Mr. Ritholtz, thank you so much. We've been doing this each and every day as he and his city live this crisis. Here is the 109th mayor of New York.
I've been one for someone. By April 10th, we were still seeing an increase in the number of people who needed them each day, 75 a day. But it was slowing, thank God. Now, today, it's actually leveled off. And we hope to see a situation where it really declines consistently, the need each day. But having gone through that terrifying moment, I can tell you I am determined to make sure that New York City never, ever is in a situation in the future where we need ventilators and we can't get them. We have to protect our people. And so these bridge ventilators that have been created are part of what will protect us now and into the future. This is something we now have that can never be taken away from us. This is something we make here that there's no one else in the world can deprive us of. We are now increasingly self-sufficient. We got a long way to go. But this is a remarkable achievement. You're going to hear from some of the people who made it happen. I want to tell you these ventilators right now, ready to go, being moved into hospitals so they will all have a reserve that need them. FDA approved. And I want to thank the FDA. I want to take a moment. I always try and give credit where credit is due. Dr. Stephen Hahn